So magandang gabi mga kababayan at welcome sa Ang Pinoy Facebook Live. Excited and exciting ang ating pag-uusapan ngayon. So if you would actually notice, tatlo kami ngayong gabi. This is actually a special episode, especially this April. Pag April po, alam halos lahat ng mga negosyante na ito po ang buwan ng of course, pagpa-file ng mga taxes. So we made sure we are actually very happy that our special guest is free tonight. Of course, care of our section editor, who will be our co-host for tonight, Miss Jean Estrabon. Good evening, Miss Jean.
Hi, good evening, Jaisel. Salamat at andito kayo ngayon. Sana marami kaming ma-share sa inyo ngayong gabi through our guest speaker. So our guest, okay, so Jill back.
Ayan. Thank you, Miss Jean. So, alam, exciting to dahil marami tayong matututunan. So, our guest for tonight, he's actually a tax guru. So, pinag-uusapan namin, pag pinag-usapan na yung tax, marami nang ayaw makinig minsan kasi natatakot. He's actually the CEO and founder of Taxumo. So, please all welcome the CEO, Mr. EJ Arboleda. Hi, EJ. Good evening.
Hi, Miss Jean. Hi, Jaisel. Thank you for having me. I would just like to correct you. I don't consider myself a tax guru. Pero like, with the line of work we've done, we're doing right now, talaga namang we have no choice but really to really know the ins and outs of taxes, no? So, and that's what I hope to share with your viewers din today.
Thank you so much. Alam mo, lahat ng talagang kaalam is ang tawag ako personally from someone na hindi is guru para sa akin, especially na ikaw na sabi mo nga in and out. Tama ba, Miss Jean?
Yes. And the first time actually nakita ko yung pangalan ng Taxum sa Facebook yon. So parang na-curious ako. Tapos I saw him, I was 2 weeks ago sa isang webinar. It was really amazing. Marami siyang na-share sa mga nakikinig. And I think mga SMEs ang mga attendees noon eh. So, salamat for that, EJ, and thank you for gracing our show for tonight. Marami kami tanong sa iyo.
Sure. Always happy to help, no? And thank you so much for having me, Ang Pinoy, no?
Thank you, EJ. So, let's start na kasi alam niyo po medyo sandali lang yung oras at talagang gusto namin siksik-liglig ang information na makuha namin kay EJ. So, Miss Jean, you may want to start your questions first before we go to the more complicated ones.
Ayan
na. So, yeah. EJ, we want to know, nanggaling ka ba sa corporate world? Where were you working before the Taxumo?
Yeah, my background was really corporate. So I started with PNG on their IT side, no, on their SAP system, so yung ERP software nila. And then I moved to HP. So I was there for like around 12 years. And then I moved to an advertising agency. So sobrang layo. Pero sobrang interesting because, a whole new world, ika nga ni Aladdin. So there were a lot of and then I was there for like 5 years. I was the chief technology officer of a digital advertising agency. And then we started Taxumo last 2016. And then ako naman, I went fully on board na full-time with Taxumo noong 2017. Yan.
Wow. That's a great experience. So ano yung mga corporate lessons na nadala mo from all of those stints mo sa mga IT companies ngayon, advertising agency? Anong dinala mo sa Taxumo? And of course, why is it called Taxumo?
All right, sige. So, sa first question on like ano yung mga lessons na nadala ko from corporate.
Lessons.
Yeah. So I think a lot of it is really how to work with people. A lot of the soft skills that I learned, a lot of the leadership that I saw with my excellent managers from before. Those were things that I carried over. And I sort of like took the nice things, the not so good things. Sabi ko, sige, hindi ko gagawin yan. Yung mga ganun. Ako, definitely into the startup, no. What's interesting is that, kasi I was involved with a lot of different processes, like from pre-sales to like support, product management. So I was involved in a lot of the different steps when it comes to like the whole business. And going into the startup, I thought I knew things. But
Mm-mm.
what I quickly discovered was that doing this, what we're trying to do, doing a startup is completely different. Like managing your own business is really, really different. Iba na kapag ikaw yung kailangan magpasweldo. Iba na yung pressure, iba na yung processes, iba na rin yung mindset mo when you're working as an entrepreneur talaga. Um your other question, Miss Jean, was why is it called Taxumo? So
Mm.
um
Yes.
well, it's called Taxumo mainly because what we did was, and this, well, I'm not sure if this is interesting, but how we did it kasi was we went through many different name studies. And then we looked for emotional associations with those names. We looked for names that would feel official, but at the same time fun. And I think we narrowed it down to a few, like around 5 names or something, and then we looked for which one available pa yung domain, and we saw
Mm-mm.
available, so that's why it became Taxumo. So it was really really just a fun name to say, kaya we went with it.
Taxumo, oh.
Oo, tsaka nag-i-stick yung name niya kasi para bang tax. Yun naman bigat. Pero yung sumo, para bang may Japanese thingy, di ba? Parang informal
Oh,
ang dating.
oh, yung dati meron kaming mascot na sumo wrestler.
Hmm.
With that actually, and
Oh,
then we rebranded everything. Pinagalitan kami ng CMO namin. Sabi niya, ano ba yung itsura natin? Palitan natin. So, inayos lahat yan. That's why, that's like, we look a bit sleeker now, mainly because of his influence. Yan.
Actually,
by
nakaka-relate
sleeker.
ako sa kanya, Miss Jean,
Mm.
when you mentioned EJ na you also need to check the available domain. And then,
Oh,
kapag available pa, hoops, I would choose that ano. I also do
Mm-mm.
that for yung iba nating
oh.
Miss Jean.
Well, di ba? Very
Ay, yung
practical.
Oo.
EJ, yung talon mo from IT to advertising to tax thingy.
Mm-mm.
Paano ba anong ginawa mo ng pag-aaral? Kasi IT ka, di ba? IT ang background mo. And then when you transfer to, when you move to Taxumo, ano yung mga pinag-aralan mo para
Mm.
para maging okay ka sa Taxumo, maging okay yung management ng Taxumo?
I would say that it was, I guess yung jump ko from IT to advertising first of all. Kasi yung IT, I mean, yung work ko naman in the advertising world, still a lot of it was still the IT side of things.
Mm-mm.
Would like develop new stunts. Kumbaga for our clients, we would develop mga UV sensors, gumagawa kami sarili naming mga ganon. So it was still IT going into I think as I sort of grew into the roles that I had, I learned more about the business. I learned more not just about my work, but rather how does the business work? Where does the money come from? How do you pay all of us? So those things are the things that I sort of learned. So I would talk a lot with our general manager. I would talk a lot with finance because I really wanted to understand how all of these things work. Uh,
Oo.
and then that was sort of like my intro into, okay, I think I understand how business works. Aside from that, of course, there's a lot of books that I consumed, I read just to try to prepare myself. And then we went into Taxumo. The thing naman kasi with what we're doing with Taxumo is definitely the tax side of things. We have a domain expert. So one of our co-founders is a tax lawyer. So he's the one who makes sure that everything's like on the up and up, no? Everything's like computing correctly. But really on the business side of things, on making it work, on like how do we get to that early adopter set, how do we get to the different sets of customers we want to get to, a lot of it is experimentation. Say that as long as you have a solid foundation in the scientific method, you would be able to go through that in stages, no? And a lot of people think when you start a business, when you have a startup, kailangan malaki kapital mo. Not necessarily, because as long as you know what exactly you're testing, then you can always design your business such that it identifies, or it addresses that particular test that you want to do. And since it's very precise, you can create sort of a model around it that's very cheap also. So that's where we started. It started very small and then it grew na lang into what we do now.
How many
Wow.
employees na nag-start kayo sa Taxumo?
When we started, it was just us founders. So talagang apat lang kami. And then when we
Okay.
started, just to give you an idea, when we started Taxumo, when I said that, series of experiments, what does that mean? So one of the things that we wanted to verify kasi first of all was, will people trust a faceless system? You know, di ba? Kasi there's no like,
Wow.
as opposed to, let's say you're working with an accountant, there's someone you can talk to. Pero ito hindi eh. This is like a software as a service, a
Mm.
tool that you
Mm.
use. So will people trust that? So the initial version, the very first version that we created after all of the previous validations we did, the very first version we created was basically a form on a website. And it looked automated, but actually what was happening was we were doing things in the background, doing it manually, and then giving it back to the customer, submitting to the for the customer and all of that. So the good thing about that was we were able to verify that people would trust a system like that. And what was the cost of that experiment? Just the website, which is essentially what, $5 a month. So it was very cheap, as opposed to what if we created the whole system na pala, we hired developers and everything, and then we find out people won't trust the faceless system. End of the day, magiging parang, magiging accounting firm lang din pala kami. So sayang yung effort. So at least with that, we were able to verify, we were able to verify that. And that allowed us to now, okay, now we can get investment kasi we've proven that this works. Yun.
That's so ano.
Yeah, that's actually a very good one. How was the
Ang
adjustment for the
galing.
first 1 to 2 years?
For the first 1 to 2 years, for the first year, that was 2017.
Mm.
So we started out with, kasi it was free, like from December 2016 up to July 2017 or June 2017, we were offering the system for free. So okay, sign up lang kayo, we'll do it. Starting July 2017, we started charging. So that's like first like test if people will really put their money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
We initially had around, so we saw that 100% of our customers that were free, they ported over to the paid. So
Mm.
God. So we were able to get like, initially I think we had 47 subscribers on the platform. We were getting maybe around 100 signups every month, ganon.
Oh, that's a very good
uh,
one.
that was that, no. Tapos ngayon, we that was the first year, and then the second year train happened. So train tax reform, so that changed everything. Kasi one of the good things that train did was it made taxes easier for our particular target market. So now that it's a little bit easier, that changed, the value proposition that we were.
Mm.
So that we had to change the whole revenue model for that. So that was the second year. We shifted revenue models completely. That is subscription, it became paper form. So
Mm.
every time you file, that's when you pay. And then that was like the first 2 years, and then eventually, we got into the groove of things. We understand how things work. We've since gone back to the subscription system, because that's what worked for our users. Kaya yun yung model ng Taxumo ngayon. Now we're getting around siguro on average 1,000 signups every month.
Wow.
Wow.
So yeah,
Awesome.
it's okay naman, yeah.
Mhm.
At least you were actually able to yung sinasabi mo nga kanina, yung doubt if people will actually trust a faceless
Mm-mm.
system. Napakalaking
Mm.
bagay na nakuha niyo yung trust ng tao.
Oo, but the thing is, we tested it before investing anything. And that's, I think, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of entrepreneurs jump into things without sort of breaking it down first and testing each little part of that whole solution to see whether it's something that will work. And I think that's something that I always talk about when I do like webinars and talks, because I think that's very powerful. It worked for us because we were able to not spend for a while
Oo
because
nga,
of.
you tested it parang per segment or per section.
Mm-mm.
Galing.
Yeah, oo. So initially, for example, initially, like, kasi we basically broke it down into different assumptions, the whole business. And then we started testing based on like what would be the riskiest assumption. So, for example, in our case, the riskiest assumption would be, will people, do people want to pay taxes? 'Di ba?
Yeah.
That's the first. I mean, kung ayaw nila, di wala kaming customers. But and how we validated that was through a series of surveys and interviews and face-to-face interactions talaga.
Mm-mm.
And what was important was we had to talk to people outside of our groups, outside of our peer groups. Because, I think this is like a common thing that happens. Normally, people like ask themselves, ask family and friends, pero pare-pareho na kayo mag-isip eh. So
Mm-mm.
out of that circle and like ask really people you don't know, strangers talaga, and see to validate that. And we were able to validate it. So that was the first one. Again, walang spend kasi basically it was interviews, no? We interviewed maybe around 100 doctors for that. Tapos like the ang kapalit was we gave them tax 101. We taught them how to do tax. And then, nag-move from there yung different assumptions until eventually we had to test with a prototype. Yun na yung kwento ko na essentially a form, the faceless system. Yun na yung part na yun. And then, ganun lang siya. Move from there.
Actually, I guess malaking tulong na from the very start, you have like a very targeted market because you mentioned about the doctors. So I guess it's a very targeted one.
Yes, definitely. I think that's a lot of people, when they try to build something, who's your target market? Filipinos. Period. It's too big because I mean people are too different. So you have to narrow it down. Our early adoption
Mhm.
was even more niche than doctors. It was like doctors that were relatives. Ganong level.
Oh,
Talagang
yeah.
ganon. So
Uh,
and then nag-move lang, nag-grow lang from there to like freelancer friends. Naging ganon. Yung ano.
Oo. Tapos na-mention mo kanina, EJ, na sabi mo nga, ang normally, ang misconception is kailangan mo ng malaking capital para makapag-start ka
Mm-mm.
ng business. Not knowing na hindi mo naman kailangan, you have to test it first before you can probably invite people who might want to invest. Sa
Mm-mm.
experience nyo, because nag-grow na rin kayo eh, ano ba ang normal range ng mga entrepreneurs na gustong mag-umpisa ng negosyo? How much do they need to save and ensure that they have this much capital before they really start the business?
Well, I would say it would differ depending on like the type of business that you wanna start, no. In our case, the initial investment that we got was 500k pesos, and
Oh.
we used that. We used those funds um, to basically hire developers to create the first like official real iteration of Taxumo.
Mm.
Uh, and even with that, it addressed a very specific market lang. We didn't like address everyone yet. It was created for a very, very specific market. And because of that, we were able to manage the cost at a very, we were very strict on our budget. We were able to manage it really within that range. Because we knew exactly what our exact target market wanted. So that was really that was the feature set that we really had, no. So we were very precise about it. Um, and the thing about that initial investment was it was from Idea Space. So Idea Space, they gave it equity free. So essentially, it was sort of like an acceleration program. So we joined it. We did our best. We really, we really showed them that we were worth investing in, and then we got the 500k investment from them. So there are a lot of like organizations like that who want to help startups. Like for example, Idea Space, they do that. They give. I think right now they
Mhm.
na the program they give like one M to three startups. Parang ganun na sila. And then there are other programs like ESIP. So ESIP naman is a program handled by PhilDev in partnership with UNDP and Australia Aid. So sila naman, they're focused on social enterprises. We were able to get into that as well. So that we used, the funding they gave us to also build sort of the next iteration of Taxumo. So ganun siya.
Wow. Okay, so ito na yung tanong natin. So,
That's nice.
tanong, Miss Jean, sige. You have a question before I ask EJ again?
No, this is the first time I've heard of idea space
Oo
and
nga eh.
isip. And we need to read more on that. We need that. Thank you for sharing that, EJ.
Of course, I'm very
Oo.
thankful to those two organizations because they really helped us out a lot. So it's my pleasure to spread the word about them.
Yeah, thanks Miss Jean. Let's check on that para yung ibang mga EntrePinoys na giniguest din natin or makapagsulat din tayo about them. So ang tanong ko ngayon, EJ, tuloy ba ang April 15? Because we started the ECQ before Holy Week and a lot of people are asking, ano ba si BIR?
Yeah, so the latest announcement from the BIR was that the deadline is still April 15. You can make amendments until May 15 without penalties. So what I assume that means is, let's say, you did your first version and submit mo na ng April 15, and let's say your tax due was, say, 10,000. Bayaran mo. And then later on, you find out, ay, meron pala akong mga hindi nasamang income. You can amend that in your May 15. And if I understood correctly, then they wouldn't, there wouldn't be any penalties on, kumbaga, yung kulang. Let's say yung dapat pala binayaran mo 15K, so may 5K. Normally kasi may penalties yung kulang. So what they're saying is there are no penalties for the amendment that you do on May 15, but you do have to file first noong April 15.
So it's a must for everyone to file on April 15.
Yeah, oo. And I think, a lot of people think that taxes happens once a year. It does not. So taxes happens at least quarterly. So, the people who are very stressed about the annual, normally they don't know kasi na may quarterly. So actually stressed kami every quarter. So that's the thing. So yeah, and I think, the
Akala
BIR, they
ko,
said they need the funds and everything. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
akala ko before April 15 lang kayo stressed out. Times 4 pala.
Tuloy-tuloy kasi, for example, VAT filings monthly 'yon. Mga ganun, withheld tax filings monthly 'yon. So meron lagi nangyayari, no? So yun siya. And thanks for bringing that up kasi yun nga, when it comes to taxes, people think it's once a year, pero actually, guys, it's at least quarterly for individuals.
Okay, so nabanggit mo na kasi ikaw, Miss Jean, akala mo once a year lang sila stress. So sabi naman ni EJ, no, it's quarterly.
Once a year lang talaga, oo.
Oo, so we have, kasi dito sa ang Pinoy, iba-iba yung merkado namin. We have professionals, so yung employees, someone will take care of their taxes. And then we also have EntrePinoys for like a startup or for the small ones. Do they need to file taxes every month? Just for everyone's info lang sa hindi medyo aware.
Right. Okay. So, first of all, there are different types of taxes. The tax that's due on April 15 is income tax. Iba pa ang VAT, iba pa ang non-VAT percentage tax, iba pa ang withheld taxes. Iba pa lahat 'yon, no? For people who are earning purely from compensation, they may be eligible for substituted filing. What does that mean? That means that the filings of your company where you work is enough. Now, there are very strict rules on whether you are eligible. And a lot of people don't know about this, no? So, number one, if you have earnings from like non-employment from a different employer, first of all, within the year, then you are no longer eligible. You have to file your own. Okay? For people who switched jobs, for example, let's say April nag-switch sila to another employer, they have to file their own taxes. So a lot of people don't know that. Also, there are rules like that. So for example, also yung company mo dapat tama yung withhold nila versus yung due mo. Otherwise, hindi pwede. And also, may weird rules ang BIR that I think come from like the patriarchal, our patriarchal past, no? Because, like, for example, if your spouse is not eligible for those rules, then that means ikaw hindi ka eligible, which doesn't make sense in my opinion, because like, we're individuals pa rin naman even in married relationships. But anyways, that's like the rule, no? So may mga ganong rules. So that's for employed people. For professionals, individuals, sole props, corporations, all of that, what they file will depend on what's on their certificate of registration.
Mm.
Iba-iba yon. So, just because a friend, let's say, okay, meron akong kiosk sa mall, sample. I have a friend who also has a kiosk sa mall. Ito yung binabayaran niyang taxes. Therefore, yan din babayaran ko. That's incorrect. What you is whatever is assigned to you on your certificate of registration with the BIR. So it's very possible na yung kanya madali pala kasi wala siya, let's say, hindi siya required to withhold taxes. Ikaw required. Lagot ka, may kulang ka na. So may mga ganong ano. So it always depends on what's assigned to you by the BIR.
Yeah, actually na ano ko yan eh. Kasi I did my last registration ko. I made sure na naiintindihan ko siya. And it was actually the BIR staff who actually take kung ano yung kailangan ko. I just need to brief them on what I intend to do. Tapos sige, eto yung mga kailangan mo. And you have to tell your accountant na every ganito ang filing.
Oo, yon. So, that's a very good point. A lot of people think that, when they get an accountant, they're done. What we always tell people is that when it comes to taxes, you can outsource the work, but you cannot outsource the liability. If may kulang yan, if may mali dyan, ikaw ang hahabulin, hindi yung accountant mo. So, dapat alam mo. If you want to go into business, dapat gets mo rin kahit paano taxes because it's so fundamental to like the numbers of your business that you really need to know also how all of that works.
Paano sa
EJ,
professionals?
meron ka bang choice?
Sorry, Miss Jean.
Yeah. Okay.
Sige,
EJ,
Toya.
may choice ka ba na magpalit ng, kunyari, nag-start ka as sole prop ka, tapos you want to, ano yung isa, parang,
Partnership?
ano yung
Si
isang
corporation,
qualification?
ganun.
Corporation or another thing, or solo ka, professional ka, can you do that? Or vice versa, from professional being solo prop ka? Is that possible?
Yeah, when you register as a professional kasi, you're registering yourself, no? You're saying that I have a business. When you register as sole prop, it's the same thing. You're saying, hey, I'm opening another business that is also me. So, di ba yung TIN natin, it's 9 digits, no? It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 000 yung dulo. Yung 000, that's the branch code. So, when you register different types of like professional income or mag-register ka ng bagong sole prop, nag-add lang ng 1 yun. So, 000, 001, 002, nagkakaroon ka ng branches. So, that's how it works. Now, when you register a corporation is separate from you. A corporation is treated as a separate person in the eyes of the law. So what happens is the corporation has their own TIN. They have their own registration with the BIR. That is separate from you. So let's say you're sole prop and then lumaki na yung business mo, gusto mong gawing corporation. Normally what happens is that you have to close your sole proprietorship and then, transfer all of the assets, intellectual property, everything on paper to transfer mo to the corporation. Then the corporation has its own registration. So, ganun siya. So, a lot of people kasi confuse the BIR with parang SSS, pag-ibig, well, nag-change status ka. Change status. Sa BIR, hindi ganun. Sa BIR, you register a business or a source of income or a profession. So, ganun siya.
Wow. Sabi ni Leonard, Miss Jean, tama yung sinasabi ni EJ kanina kasi because she left her job middle of the year, tapos siya na nga ang naglakad at nag-file nung sa income tax niya. Oo.
Clap, di ba? Pero we have guide on Taxumo how to do that, as in like step by step. Screenshots and everything para mapadali.
Ay, so mga kababayan, you have to visit later on their site. Or you may probably want to check. But I have another question. You mentioned kanina about sa train. May isang segment na napadali yung trabaho nyo when the train was implemented. What was that? And what was actually the effect para naging mas madali para sa inyo?
Well, actually, hindi dumali sa amin, humirap sa amin. Napadali for taxpayers. Because dati kasi, if you're not VAT, you pay percentage tax. So instead of 12%, you're paying a 3% tax on your gross income. So ganun siya. No? Every month, you have to remit that to the BIR. So Train, what it did was that it changed that from monthly to quarterly. Which is, kasi, diba, that's a lot easier for taxpayers. The challenge for us was that it changed the value proposition altogether because the pay was so real before. It was monthly. Now it's quarterly. So we had to adjust. Pero yun, so those were like some of the changes with Train. Another change with Train is that individuals, they now have the option to opt for an 8% flat income tax rate.
Oh.
And instead of using the
Mm-mm.
graduated income tax table and paying percentage tax, you can actually just say, oh, basta 8% of my income, babayaran ko. So you can do that also. So in fairness to the government, it was good because it made some things easier for people din naman.
But is there like a maximum income na sinasabi ng government na, oops, yung 8% mo is just up to this much?
People who are individuals, first of all, you have to be, so corporations can't opt for that.
Mm.
Individuals who are earning 3 million pesos, less than 3 million pesos, sila yung people who can opt for the 8% income tax.
So they can be yung
Above that,
professionals. Oo.
Above that,
household
your VAT na kasi, your VAT. Hindi na, yung mga VAT taxpayers, hindi sila eligible for the 8%. So yun siya.
Wow. Medyo
Okay, we
masaklap
would
na
we
yun.
would want 3 million a year, di ba? We would want that.
Exactly,
And
oo.
then
It's
we
a
need
good problem.
Taxumo. Yeah.
Oo.
Yeah, it's a good problem, but we need Taxumo for that. So, ang question ko ganito, is there a way na magkaroon isang interested na entrepreneur ng one-on-one talk with somebody from Taxumo?
Well, Taxumo, if they log on to Taxumo, there's a little chat button there. And there's always someone there from 9 a.m. to around 10 p.m. every day on weekdays. Kasi pinapatulog namin yung CSR namin. Pinapahinga namin sila. So, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., you can ask someone and, how it works and everything. If you need real tax advice, like how do I plan taxes for the year, yung mga real questions na about tax,
Oo.
we also have another service called Taxumo Consult. So we have
Mm-mm.
CPAs. You can book time with those partner CPAs and talk to them. Send your
Mm.
ahead of time so you can maximize the conversation and
Mm.
you can talk about very specific topics. Because a lot of people, they feel that they don't really need an accountant on retainer, but they would want those conversations to happen. So that's a way for them to have that as well.
Wow, dudugtong ako yung tanong
Oh,
mo,
I
Miss
see.
Jean,
Ang
no?
ganda.
Oo, kasi maganda yun eh. That
Oo.
they can, you mentioned, EJ, that
Oo.
anybody can actually consult. So, ang tanong naman ng iba, is it expensive to consult?
Yung consult, well, first of all, the chat, if you talk to them, that's free.
That's free.
And they're used to people asking who don't have any background in taxes, so they don't know where to start. So usually the questions are out of left field yung questions, and that's okay. That we're used to that. They can answer you. Yung consult, because we do it with partner CPAs, who are really experts in their field, yun may charge yun. It's $20 for about 40 minutes of a conversation. And then what you do is like you send all of your questions ahead of time so that you can sort of maximize the 40 minutes with the accountant.
Wow, reasonable
That's
na
just
yun, ha?
1,000 pesos? 1,000
Yeah.
pesos.
Less kasi syempre 40 something na lang ang dollar. But yes.
Oo.
Miss Jean, parang gusto mo mag-consult, ah.
No, I mean, kasi maraming interesado, di ba?
Yeah.
Not just me.
Yeah.
So tama ka dun. So for those who are actually interested, later on we will ask EJ. So few na lang kasi baka meron pang meeting si EJ, no, Miss Jean.
No worries. Sige lang.
Oh,
Actually, binok ko yung time ng 8 p.m. for you guys. Kasi
Ayan.
sabi ni Miss PM.
Oo.
So when you ask, pwede ba nating move to 8 p.m.? Sabi ko, ay may conflict ako. Yung pala kayo yung ka-conflict.
Ayan. So,
Oo.
pwede ba natin dagdagan? Kasi tayo pala yung Miss Jean, no?
Oo.
Ang isa pang si question
Oo.
kasi di ba ngayon, ang daming mga online selling, tapos because it's pandemic, marami ring nagkaroon ng problema sa businesses nila. So what if, ano ba yung mga advice doon sa mga nagkaroon ng problema sa businesses? Would you know if BIR can actually assist them? Or paano yung iba na gusto mag-file ng, sana wala naman, no, ng bankruptcy or whatsoever?
Okay, so from the BIR's point of view, what happens kasi when you're filing taxes is there's two things. You file and then you pay. No? So for businesses who didn't have any income, let's say tumigil sila, like restaurants, mahina talaga, walang income, they would file pa rin but zero. Wala silang babayaran, kasi wala silang income. Now, that was a problem that we realized a lot of people would probably encounter during COVID, no? So in Taxumo, we actually came up with a product called Taxumo Lifeline. What it does is that it automatically files zero for you during the deadline you set, or during the deadlines of whatever forms you choose, no? Um, we thought that it helps because, the BIR, they would change the forms. Biglaan, minsan like 2 days before the deadline, oh, may bagong version yung form.
Wow.
Tapos mali na pala yung ginagamit mo, lagot ka, di ba? So, what we did was, okay, wala ka nang business, kailangan mo pang bantayan yung BIR website, maghihintay ka pa ng regulations, ang sakit, di ba? So what we did was yun nga, we created Lifeline. It adjusts, everything adjusts. Pag may bago, it would adjust in the back end. Pag may bagong computations, it would adjust. Pero basically, it will always file zero for you since naka-dormant naman yung business mo. So yun siya. It's very cheap. It's 2,400 pesos a year.
Wow.
And then automatic na siyang umaandar mag-isa.
And then they get like a copy of the filed form.
Yeah, they could get a copy. They just log on. They can see all of the copy of their forms, all of the confirmations from the BIR. Ganon siya.
Wow, parang ang lang tulong, Miss Jean, ah.
Oo. EJ, at this point ba, para bang meron na kayong mga backup lahat o mga sagot sa lahat ng mga issues na na-foresee nyo sa taxation with pandemic and everything?
Well, I'm not sure if it's an exhaustive list of answers to all of the possible concerns, but definitely that's something that we took into consideration when we did, when COVID happened. In fact, last year, that was during the quarantine period, that was the most signups we got ever in our life, no? In the life of Taxumo. But what we did was we actually drove down our pricing during that time. Kasi nga, people needed help. That's why they're looking for something. So we adjusted for them, no? So there is that. We try to, definitely we keep ear out to customers. We listen to customers because, at the end of the day, we do want to make sure that this thing works for you. What we created is something that will help you succeed because that's our vision. We want to create a Philippines wherein Filipinos won't have to leave the country anymore to provide for their families. And the reason that, how we can fit into that is if we feel that if we create enough businesses that thrive and are successful, then there would be a lot more opportunities for Filipinos that are good opportunities here locally. So that's our drive, no? That's where our social impact is. So even though we were getting a lot of signups, we would have gotten, a lot of revenue during that time. We said no, we need to help these people. And that, that drove our decision making talaga.
Pero sa tingin ko, sabi mo nga, no, you had like almost 1,000 per month sign up. So mas maganda ba? Would you say na mas maganda na nangyari yung pandemic in terms of business sa inyo? Did it help?
Well, definitely there was demand because, diba, like when the pandemic happened, like every other day my webinar on digitalization. So we were like taxation was a process you wouldn't have thought could be digitalized for. But yon, so that was good. That was good in the sense that, people started looking for, is there a way to do this? We're basically first in the market kasi. So the challenge that comes with that is we had to define what it is. When people learn about Taxumo, they don't really understand it. Like, so ako pa rin magbabayad? Ako pa rin magpa-file? We have to tell them, no, you do nothing. You just sit and click buttons. You have to educate people. So it was good because ngayon, people had that sort of like that push to learn. So I would say it's good in that sense. And hopefully, it's a tool that helps them more later on, helps them thrive, and, help achieve that vision that we want to achieve.
Wow, oo nga, no? That's very... Miss Jean, sige na, pakitanong na kay EJ yung supposedly question. So,
Actually, parang nasagot yun na yung last question ko na you evaluate Taxumo in whatever category you want to evaluate it. Is it, nasabi mo, pioneering siya. And if you evaluate it, what grade would you give Taxumo?
What grade would I give Taxumo?
Mm-mm.
I would say like we're on our way to, whatever state we want to be in, but we're not yet there. So I'm a firm believer that number one, like there is room for improvement, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to make sure that we're always listening to customers. So I would say we're maybe always at an 8. I would say, but like in terms of like ratings from our customers, we do get a lot of 9s, 10s, over 10s. But personally, I want to sort of keep my mentality at that there is space to improve pa talaga
At
to
8. Oo.
always improve. Yeah.
Oo.
wow. There's a
Oo.
question, EJ.
Oo.
Pag working po ba covered siya sa 8% income tax computation or that's only for professionals or sole prop business?
So number one, okay, first of all, how do you opt into 8%? Okay? You do not opt into 8% in your annual. You opt into 8% on your first quarterly filing. Okay? That means, kapag na-miss mo yung mga dating filings mo, wala na, touch move. Hindi ka na pwede mag-8%. Okay? So that's the rule.
Wow.
That's what needs to happen. Second, if you are working, if you're working and you have like, for example, side income from businesses, let's say you're a wedding coordinator on the side, di ba? Maraming ganon. So, yung income nila from the business, that's charged at 8%. Ganun pa rin yun.
Mm.
Tapos, hinahalo lang yung sort of like um, income from your employment, hinahalo lang siya,
Pwede.
annual filing mo na. So, magko-compute na siya from there. So, that's one of
Wow.
the things that we did in Taxumo kasi parang, ang gulo, parang hinahalo yun. So, kami, we really like made it easy to understand na step by step, it would ask you questions and then sagot ka lang ng sagot and then it would compute for you at the end. So,
Yun nga tatanong ko. So, ibig sabihin, Taxumo can actually help people na may negosyo na sideline at saka professional para paghaluin yon at i-file sa BIR.
Yes.
Oh,
Oo.
that's a very good one.
Oo.
I think you mentioned in the last webinar na parang if one parang enters into an agreement with Taxumo, tapos you just input your earnings for this month, tapos yun lang. And then you pay like, correct ba, you pay around 500 for that, 500 plus for that?
Yeah,
Tama
oo.
ba yun?
The average that we have is, kumbaga yung parang pinaka-basic plan, let's say you were able to opt into 8%,
Oo.
balak mo mag-opt into 8%,
Oo.
400 pesos, it's 399 a month, basically. And then for everyone
Wow.
else na non-VAT,
Mm-mm.
it's 599 a month. And then
Mm-mm.
for VAT naman, it's 799 a month.
Wow. Actually, parang naisip ko, no? Kasi from the very start, EJ mentioned na pwede nang hindi kumuha ng retainer minsan.
Yeah, oo.
Tama ba,
Mention na
EJ,
kanina.
no?
Ang sa akin kasi, like where accountants and CPAs come in, where they add value
Mm-mm.
to the business is if they help you understand the numbers behind your business.
Yes.
If they help you understand, for example, whether the time it takes to collect your accounts payable is too long, so ang hirap iikot ng pera, that's when they add value. If you're getting an accountant just to file taxes,
Mm-mm.
then I think it's a waste of a person, to be honest with you. You're good enough. You're good now with the tool. But yun nga, I really believe that accountants can do a lot more. And I hope that Taxumo is also designed to help accountants also. So they can use this so that the legwork is so easy na lang for them and they can focus on the value adding part of the work.
Yeah. I actually
But
agree
don't you
with
think
you.
you're parang, yeah, pero don't you think parang merong mababash kayo na ibang mga accountants? Yung parang you're taking the business from them. Because that's what they do, di ba? Sa ibang mga small
Account.
companies. Oo, di
Um,
ba? Parang,
mhm.
what have you heard from them so far?
Yeah. So yeah, as I said, we have partner CPAs actually. So we work very close. We have a lot of users on Taxumo who are CPAs themselves. So
Mm-mm.
it's really how you take it, because we spoke to the CPA users of Taxumo and we asked them, why are you using Taxumo? Which is, di ba? Di ba?
Oo.
Isn't this your job? Parang gano'n, no? So
Yeah.
we probed. And we found
Mm-mm.
out that, using Taxumo allowed them to now also file for people outside of their jurisdiction. So before
Oh.
kasi, when you're filing, if you're an accountant, you could like, you have to go to a specific branch of the BIR.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
You have to go there, dun mo submit, and if you have to pay at a specific branch that's accredited by the RDO, ganyan. So when we spoke to the accountants, we saw that what they were doing was they were getting clients na across the country, like nationwide. And they were using Taxumo to file for those clients. And now they were adding value. Kasi they're now saying, they're, yung sinabi kong like, the financial statements, the numbers and everything, that's something that they do now. And their clients are happier because the clients feel na, ay grabe, sobrang
Mm-mm.
ito kasi hindi lang siya nagpa-file. He's helping me with my business. And I think that's where the value is, di ba?
Agree. Actually, ang
Mm-mm.
possible pa nga dyan, si accountant may probably earn more. Kasi nung binanggit ni
Oo.
EJ kanina yung rate, it's very affordable and it really helped everyone.
That's the intention talaga for that. So, definitely, we want to help everyone with this whole process, because at the end of the day, we want to be sort of like, we want to sort of prove that the Philippines can improve in terms of like infrastructure also. And this is sort of like our thesis into that. That taxes is like the most painful part of it all, when it comes to government compliance. Taxes is the most painful. And that's what we started with, because we wanted to show that if we fix taxes, probably also fix everything else. So this is like
Mm-mm.
foray into government. So yun siya. So watch out for more. Oh, may ganun.
Wow, that's a very good one. Watch out for more. Miss, oh, gusto ko yun ah. Miss Jean, do you have any other questions? Kasi alam natin na medyo nag-extend na tayo ng konti.
No worries.
Though we have a very interesting topic. Miss Jean,
Oo.
kumusta ang signal mo? Okay naman, I can see you moving. You have other
Yes, I'm
questions?
back.
Oo.
Yeah, medyo okay na, okay
Oo.
na. Oo. We learned a lot tonight.
Mm-mm.
Salamat. Salamat, EJ. And I hope that, you get more questions, people like,
Oo. And EJ, if you have like new programs that you probably want to share, please let us know in Ang Pinoy so we can write about it and probably
Mm.
share it in our Facebook Live once in a while.
Oh,
But
sure. Sige, sige.
mm,
Thank you for that. And thank you again, Jcel, Miss Jean. Thank you for inviting us and for allowing us to help people with their concerns, no. So yeah.
yeah, so ang huli ko na lang, kung wala ka lang tanong, Miss Jean, please invite everyone to visit Taxumo. And I hope talaga mas maintindihan nila so they can definitely check your system, what you have, kasi based on what we have discussed, it's actually easier in so many ways.
nice. Oo.
Please, EJ, invite everyone to visit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So everyone, please visit
That's you.
www.taxumo.com. There's if you need to talk to someone, there's a little chat button at the bottom right corner. You can talk there. The site is optimized for mobile as well, so you don't need a desktop computer. You can use your phone, and it's as easy as like any app. To be honest, no. So we really had that in mind in creating. So hopefully you find value. If you have any questions, you can like reach out to the team, and they would be happy to direct you to the proper resources so that you understand also, no. And I think what's important is that a lot of people are afraid, when it comes to taxes, so they shut down. Yun yan na pag-usapan natin at the start. They shut down when it comes to taxes. Our mission is like to make it understandable, to make it reachable for even for people without
Mm-mm.
any accounting credits. So yun yung ano. So that's sort of like what we want to do. So that's why we're very happy that you invited us, because it allowed us to sort of like send the message out there that taxes isn't something to be afraid of. It's actually something you can understand, and we're here to help you with that.
Thank you. I forgot. Last na lang pala. Last na lang. Yung mga kababayan ba natin abroad, can they actually request for assistance from Taxumo? Or this is just for the Philippines as of now?
Oh yeah, it's available to anyone. So it's as long as you need to file taxes in the Philippines, you can use Taxumo to file your taxes. We do have a lot of users who are OFWs. And they also, for example, kasi they have they have businesses at home, di ba? So
Mm-mm.
they use Taxumo to file for their businesses.
Wow, that's actually good to know. So we'll mention that, Miss Jean, sa ating Kumusta Ka Kabayan this coming Saturday, no?
Yes, we
Ah,
should.
yeah, okay. So again, thank you so much, EJ, for sharing a lot of things tonight. We've learned so many things and very informative, and hopefully we can write something about it, no, Miss Jean, para mas share pa natin at mas maintindihan. Tama ba, Miss
Tama
Jean?
ka, Jaisel.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, we should bring out the word Taxumo for everyone. And thank you, EJ, for tonight.
Thank you, Jaisel. Thank you, Miss Jean.
Ayan. So, Miss Jean, magpaalam na tayo. Ikaw muna before I actually say my piece for tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me on a Tuesday night. And hope to see you this Saturday again for another round of FB Live with an OFW. Thank you,
Ayan.
Jaisel.
Thank you also, of course, thank you kay Miss Jean for inviting EJ tonight. And thank you so much for saying yes, because tonight's episode is actually a special one. So mga kababayan, maraming salamat po ulit. We will see you on Thursday for another episode of Tips and Advices. And yung nabanggit ni Miss Jean, we will also see you on Saturday for Kamusta Kakabayan. And please also visit our portal. It's www.angpinoy.net. You could actually see stories about Ang Pinoy, EntrePinoy's health and wellness, at marami pang iba. And this episode will also be uploaded at our YouTube channel, Ang Pinoy channel. So again, we will see you on Thursday for another Ang Pinoy Live. So this is Chaisel again. Good night and thank you, everyone. Thank you, EJ. Thanks.